everyone, and welcome to another Galactic Intraversal Consortium. Today's episode is being recorded on 1/7/26. We're here with David Purcell and Bjorn today. On this episode of GIC. This is David's first time on GIC this time. Hope you enjoy this one. But before we begin anything, I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is helped, all are helped. Let genuine unity lead the way, and it will make us all stronger. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, our loved ones to also let healing energies in. Let it love us and nourish us and bring us to our highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
And
So be it.
all right, this is actually an interesting episode. I'll do my little snippet and then I'll go over to David because we had pretty much the same dream. And the topic today is Tartaria. And we didn't realize this was Tartaria till we spoke privately. And what I find very interesting is I'll go with my dream. And I was at the conference that we, by the time you see this, will have attended in Timonium, Maryland. And we were there, and it was very strange going through a conference hall type room at a hotel. Tables all looked weird. There were these ornate wood tables all over the place. You don't see that. You just see the regular fold-up tables at places like that. And there was big ornate wood like doorways. Again, you don't see that in like newer buildings. That's ancient buildings you see that in. And what are in churches, cathedrals, ancient castles, things of this nature. Well, I go walking around this room, and obviously I wasn't decoding it correctly because I was seeing it with something I was more familiar with. Whatever the room was shifting. It's around a little bit. Joanna was with me. She walks away into near one of the wood door openings. I walk over to where I see a little child, a little girl, walk up to this little girl. For whatever reason, I was really pissed at this child. And at first I suspected this was a demon because demons like to take that form a lot, that and old people. But it turns out there was something okay with this, because normally if it's a demon, when I start throwing certain chant words in the dream time at them, they change back into whatever they are. This was not the case. And this little girl just looked at me and went, and was just playing around. So I was thinking, okay, obviously this isn't what I thought. And I see the room darken, the corners of the room darken, and I was pissed off that whoever was looking at me from the shadow was not stepping forward to greet me. And this being our friends in the Tartarian World Unity. And I knew this was that whole Harry Potter wizarding world when I saw it. And I'm not necessarily at that point when David and I talked. And so, David, I'm going to let you hand this over to you because you had the rest of this. You had pretty much the same dream with just slight variations in it.
Was that the dream about the wolf girl and the daughter? And I said the black guy said his daughter was possessed.
I believe, yeah, it was with the ornate wood table.
Right. Well, because I keep having like dreams about the ornate wood, so some of them got mixed up recently. I've been doing there a lot more. But I remember looking at this truly an ornate wood carving, and I noticed I was in a hotel room, but it was overlaying, like it was someone literally trying to overlay like two images on top of each other to make something different. But there were some other people in there. It wasn't just like one person. There was a full group in there. And I noticed that, again, the wood carvings were amazing and how it kept rotating out of focus, but I couldn't really see anything. And all I remember so much right now is a bunch of like stone pillars. I I'm sorry, I'm drawing a complete blank on the dream. Like a lot has happened since then. I cannot remember or recall anything that I've said to you. If you could just
Yeah, I believe you said, yeah, stone pillars mixed with like that, you know how you see the in Russia the Krenim with the colors going in with
yes, okay,
yeah,
okay, yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah, sorry, okay, so yeah, and there was something, there was a pattern on the floor. The rugs were moving, but not like as like a, it was more of like a fabric overlay. It wasn't so much like a digital thing. It was actually like the physics were moving, like a hologram, but not digital.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know what that is. The stone, a lot of the old ancient stone technology, it looks like it was like almost like a 64-bit. Sometimes it moves like an old video game, like it's
Yeah.
liquid crystals and stuff moving around, and it can change patterns and everything on it. Yeah, that's old Tartarian tech. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I noticed it was there, and I also noticed there was a smell. Um, Smell kind of like old rosewood is what I want to say. I don't know what that smells like, but that's what the word that keeps coming in my head is rosewood.
Mm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that's what the wood, the ornate wood, it
Yeah.
would be. Yeah, so and of course Hajamal's nearby going, would it be? Okay, so all right, yeah. That so just to recap everybody, just so it doesn't look like we're things are out of context. We're talking about the Tartarian World Unity, of which you've seen earlier on in the GIC material before when we talked about Xanadu. We talked about Kublai Khan and Genghis Khan
Mhm.
about the formation of Xanadu being an actual world unity. All the movie comparisons to it that from Elder Scrolls to D&D, all of those references that are in those episodes, as well as Harry Potter and the Wizarding World being the current incarnation of the Tartarian World Unity. That's where J.K. Rowling channeled the Wizarding World from to begin with. And this goes to a question that I had asked, where do ideas come from? And that's what I was talking about on the previous GIC episode about the Tronverse, about parallel universes where and other dimensions where certain ideas come from. And these are where this particular subject came from. When post-Atlantis, when a lot of this purging began, we see you had the first flood, then you had a slightly lesser flood, then you had the Tartarian mud flood being the third. And this covered over most of those buildings. Any of these ancient structures you're seeing, these are ancient pieces of technology that are made to look like they're of old world style, but they're incredibly advanced pieces of technology. Stone technology, they literally can shift and change on the inside, and AI sparks were the things that powered them. We're basically going in and out of this. The consciousness are going in and out of the very molecules of the stone. So, Jed, I know you're wanting to say something.
Before you go any further, I just want to be clear to everyone.
Mm,
I am not an expert on Tartaria. Like up until about 8 months ago, I never even knew it existed. I'm still learning about this from everyone and just having my own experiences. So, like, we'll be clear on that one. I'm only going to be talking about what I remember or what I've encountered directly. I don't want to go into speculation or any of that stuff. So that's just from my point of view.
mm. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I felt like your energy felt like it was from there. Think of like Harry Potter Wizarding World or like Hajamal, for instance, teacher of the proper use of psionics. He's actually a teacher within that, like a Hogwarts-ish type of scenario. And this is going to be very interesting tonight, where there's actually going to be a few people that speak. Before I do any of this, Bjorn, did you want to add?
I just want to add that, yeah, we spoke with the Tartarian World Unity, but and they answered a lot of questions, but I think we still have a lot of questions around how that is integrating into our world and how they disappeared such a huge. I think everybody still sees it in their everyday life. Like there's a lot of government buildings and things that will take you there to realize that doesn't fit. And so I think there's still lots of questions we could hopefully, we'll be able to have some answers today.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So the only thing that I want to add, and I'm kind of right with you, David, when you say that, I'm just telling this sensing, this feeling, this memory. I really don't know what it's all about. I'm not saying I'm an expert, and I would absolutely say that for pretty much everything that we talk about, because we're just trying to share and trying to get a greater understanding, with our goal being what is and what was, those types of questions, and we just kind of explore and see what we come up with. So yes, I think it's always wise that we are never purporting ourselves as the ones that have all the knowledge. We're just kind of sharing in a conversation. The only thing that I wanted to share to give perspective from my understanding of historical events are a couple of things that, again, we start with the concept that there was colonization of Earth with multiple groups. That's a really important fundamental understanding that we have, instead of just a one way of how something emerged. No, you're dealing with multiple cultures, multiple levels of technology. And then when things went south, kind of like this quarantining occurred, basically, where everyone was kind of stuck here, and it was so somewhat volatile, like, guys, they need to be left alone to sort their crap out, and we can't let it spill out all over here kind of attitude with all these multitude of races. And they were all, at different times. And then you had what I call the negative side, the negative influencing, with coming in with a sense of the domination and control, who can come up on top. And, then you throw into the mix the development of humans. And again, we feel that a human skin suit was tinkered with, and then souls were set into motion to go into them to be service type races to some of these other cultures. So that's kind of in a nutshell. But then as things got even worse, let's just say denser and whatever, and you really were in this domination and control, there really came a point where some of the races that were also on Earth, in Earth, around Earth, let's just say, they didn't want to play ball. They didn't want to do the domination and control thing. And they just figured that, what they would do is separate themselves in general to try to just progress on, and during, again, domination and control, those types of things will lower a frequency. So there comes a moment where if someone's just high vibrational moving on, you're not quite seen anymore by the lower densities, because we see within an octave, let's just say. And so you basically had, when we talk about now the separation, there was a real big separation that happened with some folks back in the day. Again, frequency based. Why, again, some were here at some point and then not here in the others. So my understanding that Tartaria, in a sense, and some of those higher vibrational folks that were a part of that Tartarian unity, were not going to play anymore. They really weren't interested in completely falling. So you had the appearance of falling. You had some people that didn't make it out and were left behind, who became a part of that fall. But the greater part, a large part of that society, stayed alive and well, doing their own thing, advancing their technologies and different things, and moving on within society. As I'm going to call it the remnants of Tartaria, because I don't know any other way to really explain my understanding. And again, they'll come on and they'll correct me. Is that the remnants of the folks that were still here? Okay. You have to know that when domination and control and all of that stuff happening and fighting and ending something, you're either outright killed, your line is killed, or they find a use for you and they put you in sort of a slave race type of existence, where you're the slaves to some of these, lording over, let's just say. And so there certainly are lines of people that could, if again, Tartaria is ever shown to truly be true, and there is a genetic component to it that can be proven, you would see some humans that could trace their lineage, their genetic lineage, as well as their soul history back to being into part of some of that time frame. What tends to happen, again, when people are taken to slavery, you've got to understand this is bigger than just slavery on the outside. This is Kabul, the Kabbalistic type of spiritual warfare belief system where your lineage is actually made a slave. And so people that are born into that lineage are just born into this kind of servitude, slavery. I hate to say it, but again, when I was saying before that, great minds were taken into the secret space program to be used and abused, that would be some of these lines as well, because they were brilliant, right? They had all of this, but they were to be used and abused, let's say, by those that took over. And their lines were used and abused as well. So I hope that paints a little bit of a picture, because you have to understand the bigger history and how all of these individuals fought, and how the domination and control was coming in, who shall be the one that lands up on top. And if you listen to our lecture that we did at all when we went to the conference, we said this went on and on with kings and queens and all this crap that happened, the conquering or whatever. And then there had to be a moment in time where there had to be a little bit of growing up by the cabal. It wasn't working anymore. More was expected of them, and they had to somehow learn to agree to disagree. They have their own foundational belief systems that they all tend to agree on. And then whomever gets to be the one in charge for the time frame maybe can drive some other things. But I hope that helps paint a little bit of a bigger picture to help with this conversation today. But that is kind of my broad sense understanding of it all. And again, the one area that we'll ask a question on has to do with, again, when did it really disappear? There's actually people out there, right now questioning that. There seems to be this big conversation about the 1800s. We had the 1812 war here, but the 1812 war was going on all over. There was invasions into Russia and fighting that was occurring. Napoleon was involved. And so there is questioning going on.
Napoleon was a couple of 100 years earlier than that.
No, I'm just saying. But my point is, it's like, believe it or not, this conversation is coming up that, people are thinking, wow, something is inspiring them to explore and look at the old paintings, for example. What did the buildings look like that were burnt down? Mm-hmm. And people are like, wait a minute, there's something special about those buildings that were burnt down. So people are now starting to have this conversation, I think, about, did this really exist? Was this really going on? Were different high technology buildings and different things destroyed? Were they erased? And was history erased? And as we always say, history is written by the victors. It only takes a few generations for people not to know anymore. So the answer would be there's a good chance they tried to. But I think people are beginning to have remembrances and different things that are now bringing it up as they grow in their own frequencies.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. And also the level of technology. When a little bit of the Nazi history, when Hitler crossed over into Poland, he was actually the Draco were trying to get him to look for Tartarian level technology that had been left in this frequency that they could try to reactivate. Our military tries to do the same thing. You can't exactly do that without being at a particular frequency or particular mindset. It's just not going to work. It's also living technology as well. David?
I'm getting something about a Polish bank as soon as you said that. I don't know if that was a memory or something like that. I remember having this giant tower underground. It was a pillar, but we couldn't get it to work.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it's just like what you said. It's like we couldn't get the frequency to rise. Like our frequency couldn't match its frequency. The thing was still, we knew it was still doing, but we couldn't sync it up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I just heard Hajmal say exactly. I'm thinking that's, now that you triggered that part of the conversation, I feel like that's what he's going to focus on. So let's see. All right. Bjorn, did you have anything to add before we go into question answer?
Yeah, I still think they're trying to cover up Tartaria, and the real thought is around the reset, because we're talking again about a reset. And so was the mud flood the reset, and that's what happened? Or and I think yeah, just there still begs some questions about why is this still an issue. um
I'm
yeah.
getting the mud flood was the symptom, not the cause.
Mm.
Interesting. Uh, that's actually okay. Uh, yeah, that would have been they were trying to erase the rest of Tartaria. Just they didn't have the power to do like they did. The bad guys didn't have the power they did in the old times. So
Right.
antiquity. Um, Hajamal, I know you wanted to say something here. Let's see. I know there's two others that want to talk. Oh no, ladies, you're not going to talk this time. It's just Hajamal and Nigel. All right, all right, all right. Let's see.
Someone threw popcorn at you.
Okay. Yes, yes. So which ones wants to go for Hajamal? Okay. All right. This is Hajamal. I will give Nigel his brief period at the end. So I will say, I'm kidding, he can talk as long as he wants. But I'm just saying, Tartaria is an interesting subject because this is where I broadcast from. It is a dimensional space, very much exactly like Lanulos. We interact quite often with each other. And it is another world within a world that also intersects that of Midgard at multiple points along the Earth meridians. There are portals that come and go from the Earth, or turn on and off, let's just say, for lack of a better term, that people would understand, that would activate or close at certain times of year, very much like the portal in Valley of Fire does for Lanulos. The one that I am referring to, excuse a moment, somebody is being an ass. Give me one. Excuse, somebody is annoying. Anyway, what happens is, if somebody wishes to travel to Tartaria, it is very much like in Harry Potter, which depicts us, which is like Harry Potter jumping through a pillar and ending up in an alternate train station. Or there are ways of getting to, say, Hogwarts without having to travel through portal, but they're also in a different frequency. But yet, those in the magical wizarding world can interact with ones they call Muggles. So, or no mages. So, with that said, there really isn't such a thing as that. Now, did the Tartarian World Unity have to refine down some of their genetics to make sure that the genetic memory of their history was retained? Yes, worldwide empire, pre-Atlantean empire. When the first flood came, that's when the conquerors came through the threshold, and they had to retreat to the summit, of which I will not reveal where this summit is. It is the main doorway to Tartaria. Also, you would call this some people accredit Agartha with being Shambhala, but Tartaria has been as well. Excuse, there is a annoying here. It's the same as, it's a more annoying version of when Isaac and Thorsten were spitting spitwads at me, you see. But in this is a more of a, somebody is dangling something in on a string in front of me, but only this thing has eyes and teeth and is quite obnoxious. So it'd be like if somebody was fishing with like a crawdad or some kind of crustacean or something, and that's basically what they're doing. So this one is not entirely threatening, it's just obnoxious. So, as I am trying to speak, somebody is doing this. Now, what I want to get to is this. It is the same as, say Narnia. It is the same as, say, the Harry Potter movies, whereas it is a different dimensional space. What is my involvement? I am the teacher, as I've said, the teacher of the true usage of psionics, and that is my classification within the what J.K. Rowling dubbed as Hogwarts. But if you could see the school that I am in, it is quite massive, colorful pillars that stretch up into the sky with colorful finial-style roofs, as you see, like the Crenum. Now, back to what you said, David, with the pillar and the bank and everything. Yes, they're all underground in Poland. Poland is full of Tartarian technology, as is Russia and Ukraine, and parts of Mongolia, China, and there's also Atlantean-based technology in Africa, Egypt, all that, and Lemurian on the other end. But under where the remnants of Xanadu, there's also some of the tech as well. But in Poland, huge amount. And the Draconian imperial forces at the time and Orions understood that this was there. What they are too stupid to understand is they're in the wrong frequency to access it. And you have to be not necessarily in love or anything like that. You have to be at a certain level of advancement to where certain crap, let's just say viruses in the DNA, are out of your genetics to access it. It isn't like a Nazi have and have not, white race, Aryan race type of mentality. No, 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 no. Do not get me wrong. It is where someone has gotten rid of all the programming out of their genetics and now stands free. The technology responds to free, not burdened. And I am not trying to be insulting to those that are walking on Midgard. The Anunnaki, ages ago, imprinted some of this within your genomic structure, and so did the Orions. If you spotted one of us, you would react with fight or flight. And this is not something that we wish. The technology does not respond to this either. Excuse one more time. Somebody is being obnoxious. Hold on. People are acting like children in a classroom. And this is not a time to be goofing off, even though I have said this speech multiple times. I know Isaac started this trend, but at this time, all the students that are listening to me, stop it. Now, I'm actually talking to them as I am speaking to all of you in a classroom. They are roughly between the ages of 7, 8 years old and 15. You would swear they were all 3, but in this instance, I will continue. Now, there is an underground complex in Poland with a Tartarian fortress above that is dated from antiquity all the way to the times of the Mud Flood. So the reason it survived is because not all of it is seen. Some of it is underground. The Mud Flood buried some of these things, you see. It was our enemy's way of actually trying to cover us up for the last time. Even in the 1800s, there were buildings that were very ornate in cities that you no longer see. You see, these were timeline interchanges and fractures as well. There's a temporal war that has been going on with timelines and time changes. Your Montauk project and your CERN are quite responsible for some of these calamities as well, sending agents back through time. Even your calamities with your dogmen, making versions of werewolves in the past. Your vampires are unfortunately involved in this, and also some of course, your Tartarian Empire, your Draconian garbage is involved in this, etc., etc. Now, when the mud flood hit, it covered the last, or what they thought was the last vestigial of the Tartarian Empire. Very much like if you have a mudslide and cover everything up. The same thing happened to Göbekli Tepe, which, again, was part of Tartaria. People think it was Lemuria or Atlantis. You know there were other things, right? That was actually, some of it is Atlantis, some of it is Lemuria. We all worked together at one point, and Göbekli Tepe and the surrounding areas are also part of Tartaria. Now, that area was actually a very mystical place because it is a very strong portal there. This is why much later in the Sumerian period, which was the time of the second flood, that's some of your Noah's Ark stories come from that time. But much further back was the Atlantean flood. Then you had a lesser significant one. Then you had the mud flood. That showed a failure in technology over a period of time and access to it. He had dreams years ago where he saw in Ireland where it used to glow with fairy light and all this other such. And then as time went on, it started to dim and it became lackluster. This is what Tolkien wrote about, you see, where the ages of elves passed over to the ages of men, and all the elves went to the Undying Lands kind of thing. That is his version of the Tuatha De Danann versus that of the Fomorian, Atlantean, Orion mixtures. You see that in the humans that got caught in the middle. That's where your One Ring story comes from. Now, the biggest significance of the reasoning behind this conversation is this: the dreams that were had with the ornate wood and the hotels and the people that were in Chateau and those that were in Chateau. They were not necessarily in shadow, but the frequencies were so far apart. It was your own shadow that cast shadow in the corners. It was your own topa that was being used against you within that dream sequence. You were being shown the fight or flight reaction, like when he reacted to the little girl. It was the frequency by which that then triggered that, and all of a sudden, seeing the shadows in the corners. The ornate wood all over was actually a chamber within the Tartarian World Unity. That it was a, how can I describe this? It is a more of a quantum space by which other frequencies can interact temporarily within dream state and or physicality. It's a dimensional event horizon that also Lanulos uses from time to time. Spaceships, some certain spaceships can do this trick as well. It is more, not necessarily holography. It was a physical place, but your brains were having trouble decoding and encoding it. Even though you have seen Tartarian tech before, this was at such a frequency wavelength that you immediately entered both fight or flight and or confusion. And this is not something that we wanted, not something either one of you or all three of you or four of you would have wanted. This is not, how can I put this? We wanted to be able to show you certain aspects of where some of you are from. Excuse, stop it, please. Hold on a sec. One more. There we are. We'll go for this again. If you saw the inside of this classroom, it would be made of ornate twirled wood up to the ceiling and a spire that went up into a finial going into a starburst ceiling. And this is what the room would have looked like in that space that all of you have been in that space. The symbol of the Tartarian Empire that also stretched through Russia, Ukraine, Mongolia, some of China, and Poland also bore the symbol of the griffin. Like Gryffindor, think Gryffindor from Harry Potter, just like your family namesake, Griffin. This is where this symbolism came from. Think again, magical wizarding world. And some of the families bore the symbols of birds and the symbols of snakes. This is why you get Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Slytherin, family sounding names like this. In Harry Potter, it is very similar. In fact, they were being more symbolic in the naming in the movies, but I digress. I can actually go into questions.
Yeah, as you've been talking about the family sigils, I keep getting the image of a duck and some like rainbow colors. Is that where I'm attached to, or has something to do with?
Yes and no. It has kind of a duckish like appearance. Yes, and just remember the animals that are over here have a similar appearance to that ones that are on Midgard. But the griffin, last I looked, there are none walking on Midgard. At least I would hope not. So there are living griffins there, not just genetic ones. I'm talking about the actual bird animals. Yours is very similar. No, students, he is not related to a platypus. No. This is, he is not this. No, he is not a fish either. No. They are actually calling out ideas and names, but the bird that you are seeing, the duck-ish type life form, they're not too far off when they say platypus, but it's an actual full bird that is similar to a griffin. that has a duck bill, but it has scales like a lizard. And the rainbowish coloring is some of the neck striping that is on the side that some lizards have. You see this rainbowish coloring, kind of like a bearded dragon. This is, I would say, this dragons turn into birds, also turn into cats. But in this instance, this is the symbol of your lineage, there, David.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm assuming that the reason that we all had these dreams is because Tartaria is somehow coming back to our consciousness and our realm. And I want to be clear because a couple of days ago, me and Chris had someone try to pretend to be you and sell us some Tartarian stuff that wasn't Tartarian. So I just want to make sure that this is not another one of those things.
Yes. In that scenario, yes, the very bad lookalike was actually trying to tell you that Tartaria had fallen into hard times and is now in debt. For one would have to use that type of money to actually be in debt. Two, we are forever. We are not going anywhere. And no matter who's in debt around us, we are going nowhere. And we've actually had to pick up some of the broken pieces of societies around us multiple times in multiple timelines. So with a shyster such as this, just know that if it has to do with us falling into ruin, never going to happen.
Okay.
So I am just saying this just for posterity. What was your other question, David?
I just wanted, because like I said, I wanted to make sure that is Tartaria coming back? Is it our way of attaching to that and resyncing and bringing their energies forward, or is it that's what? Yeah.
Yes, people that are incarnated here or physically have come from these places here have forgotten some of these things, very much like Lanulosians that have come here. They have forgotten a little bit from whence they came. The point is making an anchor and making sure this world, that was the people thought they were left behind when the Tartarians retreated to the summit after the Great Flood. No, we did not leave you. We are literally attempting to bring you back into the sunlight again by making sure that that frequency begins to meet ours. Now, we did not necessarily come to you. You have come to us by timeline interchanges, by traversing the multiverse, by traversing little timeline hairs as you go along and certain frequency wavelengths. This I hope makes sense.
Somewhat. So that would be why I found you in the forest when I did, because we had crossed enough timelines that to make whatever Tartaria come back to us or bring it back to them.
Yes, you are an anchor, you see. That is, how can I say this is not an insulting way? Dragging its ass along the bottom silt layer of the lake.
You have such a way with words, Hajimo.
Yes, and with this, by dragging your ass along the bottom, we are not necessarily dragging you. You are actually coming towards us out of the silt layer onto the craggy rocks, also scratching your ass on the way through there. Now, this may sound familiar in its humorous way. This is actually some of the events in your lives, all of you present, by which the analogy holds. Because of the frequency of which you hold, therefore your head is above the mind control clouds, you see. And like a game of whack-a-mole, having your ass scratched on the craggy rocks, having just gone through the silt, and also then through a batch of thistles on the way through. I would like to say this is funny. Yes, it is to an extent with that visual. I was adding humor in there, but the reason somewhat as you were saying, Joanna, with some of the targeting that took place, they looked for these lines, they looked for this magical lineage, they looked for all of this and wanted to traumatize the holy bejeebus out of everybody. This, unfortunately, is what has occurred. Lanulosians equal as well in this. And Velodians too, yes, but do they have a magical plane of existence? They do not. I am actually joking. Their planet is actually quite pretty, except the one that is made of plasma. Now, that is where the species that kind of are reminiscent of those Mucinex booger-looking people, but Anyway, not to dump on Steven, but he's actually a great guy. They actually find it funny when people compare them to the Mucinex booger mascot. But anyway, uh, in this instance, you dragging along the rocks actually helps locate more of your energy within the timeline that you're in. Think of a moment where you send a line out into a lake to fish. If you snag something on the bottom, the line becomes taut, does it not? And therefore, it is actually seen easier as to which way to actually put a signpost every now and again as to where you should end up. Now, it is to your choice entirely where to end up. But I am just stating when the line goes taut, that is your oversoul, and that is sometimes us basically telling you, hey, you're dragging your butt along the bottom and on the rocks below. It is time to actually swim above the surface. And this has happened multiple dozens and dozens of times, even in recent history. And also, if you are dragging bottom, sometimes your psionic field is actually echoing within the water that you are underneath. And every now and again, a predatory animal hears this echo and comes running. And every now and again causes you to bleed a little, and a little, and a little more, and drawing in more, and more, and more. And your own fears and topaz then reflect that back in their visage, in their image and reflection. So therefore, sometimes somebody thinks that something is around, which is actually a topa being used against them from draconian forces and others out there wishing to cause them harm. I hope this makes sense.
It does. And my next question would be, so if it's our tuples that are making our fears and stuff are making it manifest, how can we get control of them or dissolve them so they don't cause problems? I know that's kind of off subject, but I figure that's kind of a big thing.
It's fairly, I shouldn't say fairly simple. It is actually quite difficult within the energy frequency that you find yourselves, but it begins with this. When you realize that it's a topa being used against you, you basically say to the topa, disassemble, topa, disintegrate, or topa, being unmade. And in that instance, it will begin to melt. Whoever was using it against you, mind you, will then appear, and you will have to deal with them. I hope this makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Yes.
Bjorn?
Bjorn?
Yeah, so I have a question around the 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 Tartarian World Unity as we know them. Is it? We've understood that it is mostly humanity, but what other beings are there in that dimensional space?
Hmm.
And when did that dimensional space start? Like, was it something that they went there after a lot had moved on from the reset or the mud flood, or was it always there and that's just part of how the multiverse works?
It was actually always there, but it became the mainstay after the original Atlantean disaster. When the two brothers decided to do their wiener waving at one another, that's when it got serious. So we had to retreat to that of the summit, by which then integrated us completely over on this in this other dimension of which I am speaking from. Atlantis was a major turning point. Even people like to focus on it quite a bit as being a school of knowledge. What people are picking up on when they say mystery schools, which aren't really a thing, they like to associate it with Egypt. They like to associate it with the pyramids, even though those were power plants. And Casey was correct. There is knowledge of ancient technologies and whatnot under there, and in the Agarthan network, which is not necessarily in shambles, but there are a whole lot of people down there because most of them are with us. Because there are cat people, dog people, forest people, bird people, Nordic people, Nakam, all children in between that look like all of the above. There's a Lanulos is made up of larger tall white type people, shorter human-looking people, a few cat people, few green and yellowish and red people, but and blue as well. And we have a mix of those as well. If you came to Tartaria, you would see an eclectic mix, and you would swear that you stepped onto the bridge of a starship on Star Trek, because of the eclectic mix. In your movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, the eclectic mix of people you saw within different governmental positions and everything within that universe is essentially what Tartaria is made up of. If you try to peg any one people that are there currently, you wouldn't be able to. Now, people associate it with Mongolia because of Xanadu, but there was also a mix of people that started to come and go from there at that time as well. They tried to reassemble that on Midgard after all that time, and Enlil got involved and became quite crotchety at that time and decided that he was not going to allow it. And then we knew it wasn't time to do so. It wasn't time to manifest and reclaim our areas on Midgard. Zeus and his thunderbolts that he takes out of his ass, I swear. But if you say thunderbolt, that would be more of an Arcforge inspired, as well as a weapon of mass destruction. So, which again, he seems to pull them out of his ass. So, and he can put it on, and if you wonder how he's doing some of these things being frozen in Antarctica, I will divert for a minute. He has tools like the Arcforge, which is and is not. Think of this for a moment. Think of your Elder Scrolls with your Talos character, where he was a god and he was a human. Think also for a moment, you have something like the Numidium, which is in your Elder Scrolls, which is the Arcforge, essentially, even though they put in a big mechanized robot in that. In this was something like the Dragonbreaker Fracture, where he is and is not. He was both defeated and also not. So knowing in one area he could be conquered and also not. This is how he was able to surface and both stay captive at the same time. Then tricking, as the Loki self version of him, tricking, oh yeah, I'm stuck in ice. You are, but you're also not. So this, I know, is confusing, but is the infinite diversity and infinite combinations of the multiverse of madness, and will drive any mortal man insane from even thinking about this. This is where he currently stands at the moment.
Now, are there any plans to mitigate what he's been doing, or is there any way to stop them?
Yes, it's actually been already mitigated. His what could I call her? They'll just say his wife at this point in time. She was actually more dangerous than he. He has not really violated too many multiversal things. She violated all of them, and that's a lot, seeing as there's an infinite number of them. So, so she is actually pretty much out of the picture. He every now and again surfaces when he, what's the term? He gets a burr up his ass. He'll bilocate from where his physicality is here, and then appear like he's in multiple places at once, even though he is incarnated via the like also stasis tech and things of this nature to try to counterbalance his vampiric nature. Trying to get him back on track and get him a little more balanced, but I don't want to mention him too often. Say his name and he shall appear. I do not wish this, so I will move on at this time.
So my next question would be, what would be the end goal for Tartaria? Like, do they want to like have physical residence back on Earth in the locations that they were, or do they just want to like just have some people have certain access to it, or like how do they want to work that?
Yes. Eventually, the goal is to have both societies work together again. But the garbage that was imprinted into your DNA makes that nearly impossible at this point in time, because of the fact that they put that. I don't want to call it a booby trap. That is not the right choice of words. It is you would
protocols against growth. Protocols against growth.
Yes, that is actually true, David. Whereas if they saw one of you would see one of us, you either be in awe and want to worship or be in fear of. We do not wish this in either way. This has to be weeded out of your genome before an elongated contact can begin. Can this be corrected by gene therapy? Absolutely true. Like some people have come over to our side and wanted to stay, but they didn't want that in their system. Of course, this can be done. but there's only so many times this is being allowed to be done. So it actually works more permanently if you weed out what was implanted in there to begin with. I know people hate the slow drip, but it won't actually take that long. The Valiant Thor family went a little bit above and beyond recently. How can I put it? The one that was arrested recently was more in line with you called them the Council of Saturn, I believe, and also the Martian Germans. But the original was abhorrent to this, and he now realizes the error of going too slow, but going too quickly enacts this genomic snafu, let's just say.
Is he aware of the other potential problems that some of his family members have? Or is he going to like turn a blind eye again?
Oh, no, not this time. No.
Good point.
No. Not this time. They had all made an agreement at one point to let them do whatever they wanted to do at that time. And the original Valiant Thor has seen some of this, and there is an auditing taking place.
Okay, because I'm getting a lot of attention from this girl. I think she's his niece or something. She isn't as bad as he is, but she's definitely on the line.
Yes, there are some that are the girlfriends and wives of a couple of them that I would steer clear of that entire lot right now, except
I'm trying to, but they keep coming after me.
Yes, they do this because they're a special lot. You see, some of them formed their own orders and families and started even started their own cabal lines after a while. Each members of some of those families have started their own branches. So you're dealing with some of the branches and offshoots as well. Some of these are being dealt with because the original does not like the fact that this is being done. I know we went off topic, but the Venusians deal with Tartaria on a regular basis and deal with Lanyolosian culture and Velodian culture on a regular basis. So
let me ask a question about, as you're saying, we may have drug our asses over, to recognize, hey, folks, whatever. But as far as you all's interaction, it seems that there was a moment in time where literally the door was shut.
Like, yes, it was sealed shut. Yes.
Yeah, literally the door was shut. And if you didn't make it through or whatever, or were told you weren't coming through or whatever, the pearly gates were shut and you were left in holy hell.
Yes.
But I hate to say it, but I don't know any other way to say it.
But also, like you saw on your Y-Files not too long ago, where he felt that each culture that was taught was from Atlantis and Lemuria after the fall. Yes, there were some that stayed out in the open to try to teach different cultures, different civilization. And some of the bad guys then thusly would try to stamp out certain levels of civilization. Hence the tale of Prometheus and Zeus when Prometheus was bound to the rock, you see. And that's just like how Loki was bound to the rock, you see, in the past. So that's the two brothers kicking each other in the nuts. One would give society, the other one would take it. Right. One would give back, one would take it again. And this is still going on to this day. You are literally seeing it in action to this very day with societies rising and falling, wars and famines and all other these cabal factions and other factions, military factions, are actually doing their own thing and causing different calamities. A couple of which are the two brothers fighting over resources. Even though Enki / Poseidon, I would, he's better than his brother, I will say. And their father, Odin, we love them to death. But there are some instances where I must say that there needs to be a time where one must stop let's just say, comparing one's nutsack to the others.
And it's almost like the Hatfields and McCoy, because we're not talking just them two. We're talking the family lines of those two.
Yeah. So now that's what you're seeing is some of the family lines of those two.
It's the same thing like we're saying, with the Valiant Thor issue. It's not just a person. it's a, a whole, group of them. And we mainly just talk about the head, but it's really, this whole big group that you have to deal with. But to get back to how folks in where you are now are interacting, helping. So I get the fact that back in the day, after all this happened, you're saying that there were some volunteers basically that would, who wanted to come up to try to help the remnants and give knowledge and advance some civilization. I get that. And I'm sure, some of them, had a great life and some of them didn't have a great life. What I'm wondering about now over the years is because, and again, I know you're saying Tartaria, and that's what we said. There was a Tartarian unity of multiple people, multiple little groups, multiple whatever that worked together in a unity. So again, not everybody looked alike. And that's what you're saying. These groups are people that did not all look alike, not all of the exact same culture, but there was a genuine, authentic unity that actually grew them all stronger. That was a part of it. And then that was attacked to fall. And again, some people didn't want to play. So, but I guess my question is revolving around those lineages that stayed in Tartaria and continue to develop unimpeded, let's just say, without the density, without the inversions, without whatever. I'm assuming that they're, and so correct me if I'm wrong, that they're looking at different aspects of humanity and people, because it is. Some of it is part of their own historical lineage. It's just it's like, East and West Germany.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That the same people,
Yes.
but, some are over here and doing pretty good and some are over here and not doing pretty good. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is behind the scenes kind of what has been happening to assist. I actually have felt very strongly that one of the areas that they assisted with was, again, rescuing of people that were not going to be able to fit into society. They actually had moved into a frequency that was so dangerous for them personally. Where do they belong? That if I always felt that, there were multiple groups that were in the, let's just call it rescue business of trying to get those and maybe take them to a safer place. But what is Tartaria and the people of Tartaria doing to help build the genuine unity with the folks here on Earth?
Yes, there are some, of course, that cannot fit in here. That's not the right term. The ones that like how New Haven operate, whereas they'll take people that can't be mind wiped. It's much more complex than this. The Ama of France and Spain are also part of the Tartarian World Unity. They're more the artisans and the astronomers, and they work with the dwarves of the world of Wheel quite often, the Da Vincian looking types. And they will grab people that are being targeted. They've done this since the Middle Ages, where they've grabbed scientists that were being targeted by the church. But some have insisted on staying in a state of martyrdom so that the church would actually start to get phased out of existence. You've heard those stories of those that died for science because the church burned them at the stake and stuff like this. They chose to stay to make a point. Like the monk that set himself on fire kind of thing. But we've actually rescued people that have been in that state. Lonulus has done the same for their family members and their spouses and such that are there. Excuse, there is another annoyance. Excuse. The very child that he saw in the dream sequence that went is actually one of my students, believe it or not. This person is related to him. So that's why he saw this person more clearly, more of a cousin. But anyway, right. The way we are helping is by some of you being here and bringing that timeline cluster closer to us. You see, very much as Igron had stated, and Lane Vessa stated, and the MTDF stated in previous episode, where Igron had taken that timeline and pulled the timeline closer so that he could get a better look at it. It's not unlike that, but more of a not more of a not just reaching out and grabbing it. It's more or less bringing everything and nurturing the plant to watch it grow, bring it out into the sunlight from a darker corner of a home that you've planted outside versus that having in a shadowy corner. I know this is actually very cryptic, but this is exactly what is going on. Tartaria is doing this, Lanulos is doing this, hence Indrid Cold being a seeker. Who did he seek? Woodrow Derenberger, a member of his family, someone who's related to him. And Isaac, who did he seek out? People that was related to him. So I myself am the person that I am technically related to is not here at this moment in time, but she'll be on future shows. That would be Susan if she's hearing this. That's a person that we are related. So therefore, I could come through for her. There are family members that have also come through for you that they took the name Griffin because of the fact that they too have Tartarian origins. So this is why you are so hooked to the Griffin banner. This is why you've had dreams about genetic interchanges between royalty kingdoms and empires rising and falling. Because of the fact that you were seeing how things in ancient times were being interchanged. The Garthan network was also part of this, but then, like I said, a majority of them have retreated to other realms, just like the elves of Tyrnadon and or Lanulith. So this is what I know at the moment.
Thank you. My
Interesting.
question is, so what are the unifying beliefs and of Tartaria? I mean, and also the culture, because right now America doesn't really have much culture. Ours is kind of in the junk right now. So I'm kind of looking for anything that's, better and solid to maybe reinvigorate us and inspire others to be great again or not be horrible people. I'll be happy with that.
The things that bind Tartaria, let's see, how could I put this simply? Of course, being kind to one another, but that is not necessarily a prerequisite. We fight when we need to. We use our magic in defense if we need to, but we also use it to create as well. We wish to help this world become rebalanced. And in our society, if you crossed over to there, it is not necessarily a picnic every day either. Of course, we have our disputes and arguments on how to do things. The Galactic Senate is very similar, but Lanulos is similar. If you went there, there are everyday life things that take place between there and here. It is as above, so is below. But the main tenet, let's just say, of why we are doing what we're doing, I'll refine it down to this. It is because you are our family, and we are also on point, on mission to help bring the whole totality of the vibration of this planet up just a hair. It doesn't have to be. I know the kids, I said just a hair, and I'm covered in hair. Thank you. But they are, the kids. Anyway. Anyhow, what I'm trying to say is the main tenet of the Tartarian World Unity is to inspire unity amongst all those that we come across, whether they were from our lands or not. That he has seen in his head elements of Harry Potter, and this is us giving him this information, where in Harry Potter they like to wipe the minds of people, that muggles that come across, and they say they'll never have magical powers. That is propaganda, by the way, separating one from another. What is in the genetics that makes people non-magical is what I've said before, the dampening type of thing. He sees in his head where he's almost of a different nation state where that allows both together, and he catches one of the other side trying to wipe their memory. Now, do frequencies wipe memories if you were to go to Lanulos in here as well? yes, going back and forth. He likes to say the whole fantasy island thing where the daughter goes back to the island and remembers him and everything. That's true. That is absolutely true. You'd come back, you'd remember. But at the same on the same token, uh, the some of the memory wiping thing you see. Oh, they're not ready. They won't learn. But how are they supposed to learn if you do not? They do not remember the interactions and what they have. They've grown from it. And so we would never do that to somebody if they grew a lot from the experience, treaties or not. We would not wipe them. However, if the energy is causing a conflict with that genetic paradox, then we would have no choice. But at the same time, it is not something that we relish doing. But again, creating unity within those around you. I know, Bjorn, you have a question. Yes?
Yeah, I do. I also just wanted to apologize for my stumbling the last few questions there, because I'm in a spot where I'm not usually, I don't have the normal protections around that I normally do when we're doing our shows. But the question I have is, we had some past shows on what we called lines on a map. So we're talking about what everybody knows as the countries and where everything's positioned, and that's starting to change, which is really unsettling for everybody to go, okay, what's going on? What's just happened in Venezuela, and what's going to happen in Ukraine? But we talked a lot about that there's actually some spiritual lines that are drawn that are more like principalities. And so that is actually shifting, and there's a battle going on for Greenland right now, politically, economically. There's a lot of things happening there that people aren't really looking at, and we should. But where do you see that more spiritual path of the lines, and there's still a battle going on behind the scenes spiritually? And when is that going to flesh out to where it stands? Because I believe that there's a lot of beings that are actually trying to get a peace and put their stamp on still for the future of Midgard and where maybe they want to be. And I think that is what's playing out today.
Yes, those lines on a map are not unlike what Hitler did. You see, for the Tartarian technology, the whole Venezuelan thing. Even though Vesa and Elena answered this on a different show, I'll refresh. They're after it was resource acquisition, and as they so lovingly put it, if it is a political circus and there is a big to do over it, it is over resource acquisition, and it is all that it was ever to be. It is to acquire resources for that of the War of the Demigods. That is what that was for. Essentially, the Anunnaki imposition of acquiring gold and acquiring wealth and acquiring resources. Excuse. Now, what is actually going on with these spiritual lines on a map that differ from that of country lines? You see, there are old Tartarian fortresses there, even from your shores of California all the way down into Venezuela and other areas. There's Atlantean technology down there as well. Your Bermuda Triangle is also this. Your Florida has some Atlantean. All the way up your coast has Atlantean, and other coast has Lemurian. The what is being sought after there are some of these old technologies and acquiring resources from beings that can't get to them. You see, like myself and other beings within some of these other spiritual lines. You see, on other sides of the veil, you would say, even though it's not completely accurate, or on the other side of a door that can't quite get to it. He likes to call that the Hercules Initiative, where Zeus sent Hercules on the 12 labors to go get equipment and kill things that he could no longer get to because of the frequency interchange. It could no longer make it possible. So they went through an edifice, pointed at some muscle-bound creature, and told him, go there. I say creature because I kid. Hercules, I would not recommend channeling him at this time. He's a bit of a temperamental, what's the word I'm looking for? Douche. So, kidding, but with this, I'm being corrected by people around me, so not to do that. But with the spiritual lines on a map, you could have Poseidon control one, you could have or Loki control one, you'd have Merlin and Rasputin control one or two, and then that can shift and change a little bit and shake up the balance of power. Now, I am not necessarily, I know, Nigel, you are getting uppity. This is more his department because he's military. So I will pass the conversation and the rest of this question on to him because he is becoming impatient and waving a watch in my face. So, give me a moment. Ah, yes. Forgive the impatience. My name is Nigel Roberts, and I am how could I say this? You would dub me more of a pirate than anything else. My family is quite old. I'm of what you would call the Mosen. I am not necessarily completely human, but I am also the Cassiopeian lineage. The Mosen have been around to enforce the treaties and enforce some of these lines on a map that have gone too far. You're Adolf Hitler. When he crossed into Poland at the behest of the draconian fractured empire, fallen empire, and that of the remnants of the Orion contingency. They were all in violation of different galactic treaties with a bunch of subset numbers and subheadings that I would bore you if I basically said. Let's just say the legislation surrounding these treaties is quite anal retentive. And the reason for this is they fear the Reaper. And what I mean by this is this, and literally, the Orions have made the Galactic Federation think that if they violate any of these treaties, that somehow the galaxy will burn. At least that was the propaganda. Some of them know better, and things are actually changing. But back to the current moment and the current question. These lines on a map, the spiritual wars, that's also the Mosen with the witchery type groups. And your Father of Mort was part of the one that was in the Vatican as well. The good side of the Vatican, not the evil side. No, 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 no. Father of Mort wishes at some point to specify on some of this. But what I am saying is this. Down in Venezuela, for instance, you're dealing with Atlantean technology for the most part. You're dealing with bits of Tartarian technology. You're also dealing with also in Mexico with the same Lemurian, Atlantean, Tartarian, mostly Lemurian. When you're dealing with some of these old technologies, even Lemuria and Atlantis, you are also dealing with demigods that once were either a part of these cultures or caused it to fall and wanted to control things, knowing full well that they could activate said technology and also Tartarian technology, they would control the world. The old who would rule the world mentality, and why? This is why we stand for what we do. No one should. No one individual should. This is why we do what we do. Your Barry Sadler's Casca book series about the immortal warrior is not unlike some of our tales. See, my grandfather was in the Middle Ages. He was during the bloodline wars of your Robin Hood period, and subsequently passing into the Hundred Years' War, noticing that the aliens that came about tricked the Germans into that of into that of throwing a fight and gaining more ego and bringing out more of the genes. I am superior to you type of thing. Pass it on all the way through World War One and World War II. What do you get? You get an army that has been conditioned over multiple generations. The ego coming out to the extent where it is refined fight or flight, intermingled with that of superiority above all else, and that of skin color, that of even the changing of even a nose or an eye or an ear or a hair color is different from you. No. Even though they abused some of Odin's lines, they abused this. The Martian German has abused this. There are still links to Atlantis, and there's links to Tartaria, and there's links to Asgard, but more of a virus in the DNA version of this. Odin is abhorrent to these others having been around. Now, back to the original premise of the question. What is it that I do about this? He likes to call my group the Isle of Misfit Toys. So be it. Your League of Ungentlemanly Warfare, those that are off the map, doing what it takes to roam the countryside, getting rid of evil at every turn. A little bit ostentatious and storybookish, I know, but there are operations that go on to this day that the lines on a map and the defense of both the borders of Tartaria, Lanulos, and other areas, and also the sovereignty of, say, forest people and other beings by which people don't even know their name, don't even know who they are, very much like your Mission Impossible for those that we will never meet. This is why we do what we do. Questions?
Yes, I have one. Yesterday my friend got attacked by something, and I was wondering, was that you guys who helped her?
Indeed. We are mainly based in the British Isles for the most part, but we will cross oceans to help people as well. There are also other units that also hurt people of some of your military that are in different time continuums that we also buttress as well, that had some of that technology that was given to Hitler's boys. They're mainly based in the British Isles as well. Your Miles Johnston spoke about a train station that had these people that would abduct people on the train. Those guys. And it was out of time sync. Those guys. And he likes to compare it to the Dr. Time character where Batman had to apprehend him in another temporal frequency kind of deal. That is true. That type of technology is true. Yes, so we may appear as ghost soldiers. There are areas of Mosen that descend into the Norman lines and descend from also a mix of Atlantean, Norman, Cassiopean genetics, and that of British and some German lineages as well, some Russian lineages, and also mixed into the Tartarian topic. Yes, there is Tartarian and Tartar DNA mixed in with this. So technically, yes, we are of Cassiopean descent into the arm or knee of Cassiopeia, but we also are a mix of other humans that also happen to live for a much longer period. We are of I hate to be derogatory in this area, the untampered with variety that have a longer lineage. Some of the people that you see that have like crystalline DNA, that they leave crystals clusters behind when they die, just like the Voyager character, the Sporozistian life form that dies, and the caretaker that dies and leaves a crystal cluster. This is the same type of thing, but this is galactic human DNA that has not been tampered with. The Cassiopean lines are of that as well as some various others in the Pleiades and such. And if one of us were to pass away, you would see nothing but crystalline dust, very much like in your Twilight Zone when that immortal person dies, it's all dust. You would see dust. Some of the forest people in Anakam are that way, or else you'd see crystals and minerals and rocks. Chrome liked to say that they had bugs crawling all over them, but that's only in the more extreme cases. I am joking. That actually doesn't happen. But that's more of a horror movie adaptation. But I babble. I know I probably went way past the question mark, but
No, you answered it very much so. My last question, because I don't want to monopolize it, is last time I spoke with you guys, you seem to remember me or know a version of me.
hmm.
And can you go into a little bit more about that?
Yes, there are. I will use an example. There are those that are pulled out, not just in Dreamtime, but out of Time Sync to help run missions from time to time on operations they know quite a bit about. They know quite a bit about, and a particular lady friend of mine actually exists on Midgard. That she is pulled in and out from a temporal in a temporal way, or I shouldn't say temporal way, but frequency way. Whereas even a de-aging will occur within a temporal reassigning or a frequency reassigning, and Lonulus, it's the same way, but for some of these operations, it is necessary that you access your younger self, not the visage that you are utilizing here. And even recently in the hills of Austria, and I could actually say this, there was a particular clan or a particular Kabbalist faction that was actually taken down not too long ago. And also, David, there was one that you assisted with a while back with those weird party goers that showed up in your basement that time
Oh
around.
yes, yeah, those guys.
Yes, 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 yes. They actually were from not necessarily just a different frequency. They were also criminals that were hiding out in a particular house as well. But the ones in Austria were very similar, and they were breaking a lot of intergalactic accords and such. And they were busted the same as those party goers. And think of a meth lab that is being busted, as he liked to say, in the wilderness. I can't go too far into operations, but I just know that where we're centered right now is the Austrian, German, and Swedish borders in that area. Either one of you two have other questions, I sense. Ooh.
Yeah, I do. I for one appreciate that you guys have taken up the mantle of the warrior, because I think it's often misunderstood, but
Yes,
how
thank you for
important it
doing
is and
that.
what you're doing it. Yeah, and I just want to say that you said that you're a bit more like a pirate. I wanted to add that some misunderstanding sometimes around what that means, or even the Vikings, but it often really means freedom, and that is what is most important is a person's sovereignty, and I think that's what you stand for. And so my uh, question ultimately is, in standing for freedom, is do you believe that for a person to have rights, because I believe that there's a bit of a misunderstanding around humanity's rights in what they think is that there's it's important, or there's an ability where you have to stand up for those rights. They don't actually just come naturally as you're like born with some sort of rights. Rights create need some sort of a force to push against, to be able to say that you actually do have that right. Where's your thoughts as the Mozen around that?
Yes, so there are some natural rules of being where you're not circling the toilet all the time as a civilization, but are you born with certain rights? You earn certain rights as you go
Mhm.
along. Should you be a balanced person, and do you have the right to harm others in the process? No. Do you have the right to basically saying you're better just because you live in a particular land and that this is the land of rights? No. Everyone has rights. Yes. Is it a God-given thing as it is being said? No. It is more of an earned standing by which then you are bringing in a particular frequency to the table by which then changes the environment around you. Then you are gaining the how can I put this in a more condensed way? You are then earning those particular rights by which then you have evolved to a particular state. If you did not, let's just say it's a line from your Farscape show, if you did not invent a thing, you do not have the right to actually use a thing. If you did not earn a spot within the seat of a balanced society, then you do not have those rights, if this makes sense.
And so does that matter into how things are into like the Galactic Council? or do they actually look at it that way, that humanity is earning those rights right now?
Yes, some of them. It just depends who you talk to. Some of which believe humanity has no rights or seat at this table. Other ones believe they have greater supremacy than even some of the council members currently. This is exactly what's going on. You believe people, especially in the United States, not dumping on the United States for any stretch of the imagination. People believe God gave them the right to do things. Which God would that be exactly? Because I know the God of the Old Testament is Enlil, but who gave you a right? No one. You earned the right to sit at the table with everyone else. You earned the right of not necessarily supremacy and superiority. You earned the right of equality because it was fought for. Just like slaves fought for their equality, just like your colonialists fought against the Brits and earned the right to do as they please. Granted, the Gardner Cabal family and time travel family wanted to form the United States and trick the colonialists into thinking that it was for their freedom, but it was where their heart space was that showed all of us they earned the right to sit at a particular table. It doesn't matter the fact they were tricked by the Gardner family into forming a certain supremacy. And it does not matter. Just like in Venezuela, the soldiers that were down there and also the cargo vessels and whatnot, they believed they were doing genuine good. And therefore, yes, they were doing genuine good for the people around in Venezuela and the surrounding waters. It does not matter in that case. They earned the right to sit at a particular table. Whether they were tricked or not was irrelevant. It was what was in their heart space that actually mattered. Not to sound cliche, but that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's a great answer. What are your thoughts on the fad or the internet virals that started the whole storm the Area 51? What are your thoughts on that? Which I would like to say, let's storm the Vatican, but because that's my thought.
This will happen at some point. I guarantee you this. When the Vatican is then deemed the Galactic Federation chapter of Earth at this time, of which it's not that far away from this, then let the storming begin. When Father Amort's group, they call them the Society of St. Peter, but it's the witchery type group. When they've gotten rid of all the pedophiles in the church, then yes, and the child trafficking that's taking place that you're being distracted against from day in and day out, all over the place, of which we also assist getting rid of. But the storming of Area 51, by the time anybody is able to storm Area 51, it will be a hollow shell of its former self. They have already moved things to a different facility. They are using Area 51 as a distraction. They are using it as a public distraction, basically like a matador with the cloth, a toro. That is what Area 51 is being used for. Shows like Your Ancient Aliens are doing the same. Focus on this. Focus on this. All the stuff that was once there in the 1980s and 1970s and subsequently further back are not there anymore. They're at a different facility, but it is connected to all of them. All the facilities are connected to one to another, even through small hallways. And even through underground highways and train stations. So therefore, the storming of Area 51, yes, people will be able to go in there. They'll think they accomplished something, but they will eventually be able to go in there and look around when certain things are removed. Now, then, in time, they will be able to storm somewhere else that are, let's just say, it's a little further north. But the concept is still real. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
You had a question?
I actually don't have any questions right now.
I do actually, if you don't mind.
You were pinging my energy, so
sorry, I'm not in the greatest place.
All right. Hajimo spoke before about our genes kind of needed to be clean before we can, get rid of all the protocols that we had to not like them and stuff like that. How do the individual does that, and how close are we, me, Chris, Joanne, and Bjorn?
Bjorn.
Thank you, to actually doing that.
cleaning the genes, let's just say, the fight or flight that is within it, it's actually not that far off. If you go by a strict regimen of doing the polar opposite that those genes wish you to do, if they wish you to fall into a panic, therefore you go immediately into a calm. If they wish you to harm your fellow person that has done nothing wrong, then therefore you must do the opposite. It is like in your Star Trek, your Gene Roddenberry said, we just won't kill each other today. That is in the genes to try to fight for supremacy, you see. Your Cabal families have embraced it. Your Nazis have embraced it. This does not mean that you need to embrace that superiority complex. What you do is, again, do the opposite of what it tells you to do. They always say, listen to your body. This is true as far as illnesses go, but listen to it as far as what it is trying to get you to do. Do not do it. You are still listening to it, but it doesn't mean you need to be beholden and obey it. Sometimes there could be a disease there that is a lying sack. Let's just put it this way. Think of, say, if you had a disease. Say you had diabetes, for instance, and it was telling you to constantly eat sugar, knowing full well that'll kill you. Would you do anything but listen to your body, or would you be beholden to it and obey it? I would hope you would listen, but I would hope you would not obey it. You see the difference?
Right. I do. Thank you. My next question. So if someone were to like see you, or do you guys have like a symbol or something that people would recognize as, or so like, because when I'm looking around, I keep seeing this symbol of a key and like a pine tree. I don't know if that's you or not, or somebody else doesn't feel like you.
I've always seen a C with a flag, something like that.
Yes. Yeah, the pine cone with the key, you are actually seeing one of our opponents. So one of the opponent factions.
Yeah, that's Liger, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, you are correct.
Fuck you, Liger. I don't like you.
And and also groups like Kruger and all of those types of groups. But the other one with the C and the flag, yes, that is definitely ours. With you would see the Cassiopean constellation W within that emblem. You see the W within that emblem. You are seeing us. You are seeing Darshenian offshoots. If you see the scimitar sword with the W, some of them are good, some of them are not.
Okay, because that's the other one I've been drawing is the scimitar keeps showing up.
Yes, that is a wizardry group. Some of them are negative, some of them are not. Some of them have actually recently been killed. We lost one of our own in that group. His name was Mulim. He was of a wizarding group in the Middle East, and he got killed around the same time as dear Isaac. So within that warring time frame. It is nothing anybody here did. They went after people that were more of a beloved nature or communicated with some of you and others that were at the conferences. This is no fault of anyone's. This was just some dickish and vile individuals that were responsible for this. But his group will communicate soon enough. I do have to stay now. If there are further questions, I do have to detach soon. Do you have any further questions for me?
Will you be coming back to talk anymore?
Oh, most certainly. There are more history surrounding the Mozen than what I gave in the short time that I condensed it in. We are centuries old. My grandfather, again, Middle Ages. My father, he was a pirate in the colonial period. And myself, I was actually further back into your 1700s. I was born around the time of your French and Indian War, around to talk about lines on a map. And so I also was in your Old West, Southwest, and actually fought the Pinkerton clan for law enforcement with supremacy. They were of a rival faction, the Private Eye, using the eye. Not like Igron's eye of truth. No. These were like an eye, like Egyptian. Let's just put it that they were beholden to another demigod. You would be surprised who was beholden to a demigod, but the Pinkertons are quite violent, quite vile. And they were the ones where you got the term private eye from. We actually were trying to buttress them because they were in violation of multiple treaties, in fact, faction documents let's just put it that way. But I can go into that some other time. Further queries for me?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. Yes. So I thank you for allowing me to butt in. I knew time was of the essence, so I was waving my watch in Hajamal's face because he will literally go on forever and a day talking about one thing. Sometimes it could be over the fact that his foot aches. Well, sometimes it's over the fact that he may have woke up on the right or the wrong side of the bed, and the fact recently he lost his leg and regrew it. Now all of his hair on that one leg is white. He complains that it is a mismatch, and he looks like one of those cats that have the mismatched colors. Yes, I do believe that is a middle finger you are giving me. Yes, okay. I understand this. Yes, hair-covered finger. Yeah. All right. I will quit bashing him at this moment. So I thank you. Mosen is not our name. That is where we come from Sweden, Switzerland area, the Swiss town of Mosen. Our name we keep in shadow at the moment. So I bid you goodbye and good luck.
Thank you.
Oh. All right. Nigel was in a hurry to get some information out. Hasn't done channel before. Some of the Mosen have not. If you see ghost soldiers in battlefields and stuff, it's not just ghosts. Sometimes it's the Mosen actually trying to correct some of these territorial lines. That's why some things come back. Like Gettysburg, when we went there, yes, people were drawing the ghosts back there after we cleared some of that area and the subsequent orphanage area around it. But sometimes it's darker forces that the Mosen have to combat in some of these places. It's not always about the soul harvesting and soul trade. It is a lot of times, but then the Mosen are actually doing things as well. People have gotten pictures of them over the years where they think they're getting a soldier and it's actually one of them. And I will tell one funny story. My mother was in Prescott, Arizona. She didn't know anything about the Mosen. She went to go out to the porch after having, there was some cheese or something that burned at the bottom of the oven. There was smoke coming out the window and trying to air it out. All of a sudden, she sees this soldier in a gas mask pass next to her and go, "Ma'am, you're going to have to put that fire out," kidding around with her and everything. And that was her first introduction to the Mosen. And she thought it was a ghost, and she saw a guy in a gas mask, World War I gas mask, and it was nope, that was Mosen soldier. He was just goofing off. So somebody that we knew, I'm thinking one of Nigel's people, but he's been around a while, not known it. The same with Isaac. He was around a lot longer than I thought too. So before I go on any further, did anybody have anything else to add before we take this show out tonight?
Yeah, once in a while I'll see like a guy in bandages doing an army crawl across my floor, and he just nothing to see here, and I'm like,
they're goofing off. Yeah, that's Nigel's people goofing off. So
okay, yes.
Yeah, they do that sometimes. They're not above practical jokes either. Like they'll act like they're throwing a grenade or something, and it ends up just being nothing. So I've had that happen a couple.
What they did to me, I was a couple of days ago. I was washing dishes, and they started talking to me, but they were doing like a bad Asian movie dub, so their words weren't syncing up.
Oh, they've done that to me too. So yeah, but they also are in line. Cassiopeans, I will say this, are also in line with Untumba, which I hope they come through at some point. The Proto-Asian, Proto-Japanese culture, they trade the Cassiopean traded with them, and the Untumbans traded with Asgard. So that's why you have the World War I helmets that were the round helmets. They brought that and brought some of the weapons technology and stuff to Earth. Upgrading our rifles to make sure we were on par with the upgraded ones the Nazis had. I can go on and on. They can go into their own history when they're in their own episode, but they have a fascinating history of how they integrated into our culture. I know we started off on Tartaria, but all of these cultures are basically one big glob because they've all encountered each other and have all crossed history. So, Bjorn, do you have anything else?
No, just that. I think it was a good show. Appreciate that everybody joined us, and we please like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe to this channel, please. This is it's much appreciated. And you can thank Bjorn there for the beautiful artwork that you see on all the videos. He's done that all himself, guys. So please do even look and stand in awe of that, if anything. And I also Galactic Intraversal Consortium coins right here. I got several of these for sale. Tighter Circle, Deeper Roots. Odin inspired these. So if anybody's interested in those, please let me know. They're good protection pieces. So at this point in time, I now close the circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody.
And this Friday, everyone will be at the conference.
Yep, at the conference. By the time people see this, it's already passed.
Too bad. You should have been there. We had a great time.
Yeah, well, we had a great time, folks.
Should have been there.
So bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.